Okay, this is a tower industry panel, and the moderator on it will be Kelly Lazuka. She is the CEO of Fullerton Engineering. Kelly has been in the wireless industry for 23 years and was appointed CEO at Fullerton in 2022. Kelly previously served as president of the Wireless Services Unit, overseeing site development, A&E, and utility coordination. As an industry leader, she brings great expertise in program management, world-class execution, and customer service to the Fullerton team and its customers. Before joining Fullerton, Kelly was at SAC Wireless, a Nokia company, for over 20 years as VP of Operations, a well-seasoned professional. And you brought along even a more well-seasoned guy in Tony Sabatino. All right? So, anyway, please welcome Kelly.
I've known him for 30 years.
Oh, thank you.
I had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
There's your mic.
Okay, let me just get a little set up here. All right, well, thanks everybody for being here today to talk through our industry panel on bold strategies for today's wireless landscape. Let me just get my slide deck going here. So my name's Kelly Lazuka, as Craig said, and I'll be your moderator this afternoon. I've been in the industry for 24 years, and I've been with Fullerton the last 2 years now. Fullerton is a turnkey company for macro and small cell sites. Fullerton, over the past, and you can see some cool facts there, but over the past year, we were able to deliver over 1,000 miles in fiber design, 1,800 real estate NTPs. And then since its inception, Fullerton has done about 2,500 DAS designs for venues nationwide. So full turnkey, we're very proud of that. Now, at this time, I'd like to introduce these four esteemed gentlemen here we have on our panel and give them the opportunity to brag about their companies. So before we jump into our topic at hand. So our first panelist is Tony Sabatino. So Tony has been in the telecom industry for over 30 years. His experience includes fiber outside plant engineering and construction, wireless network deployment and design, carrier operations, and R&D. He holds various patents and currently is the Chief Technical Officer and Chief Strategy Officer at Diamond Communications. So Tony, do you want to tell us a little bit about your company?
Yeah, Diamond, a lot of you probably know who Diamond is. We're the 5th largest infrastructure company in the U.S. behind the Big Four. I think everybody knows who the Big Four are. So I won't give them a commercial here, so that's probably fair, isn't it? Sorry, Paige, if you're still here. We really specialize. We're a traditional tower company, but we also have land under tower assets. We have rooftop assets. We have an in-building services group, and we manage over 300,000 assets for our managed partners, utility companies, billboard companies, and we really try to bring a total solution to our carriers, our municipal, state, federal, local, whatever customers we deal with. And we're always looking for new opportunities, and we're pretty excited to be here. Thanks.
Thanks
for having us. I wanted to make it short. That's 29 seconds.
You did great. You did great. Thank you. Now, next we have Will Grindle. Will is the co-founder and CEO of Ascend Wireless Networks. Will served as the Chief Operating Officer since 2013 when the company was founded, and in December of 2022, he took over the reins as CEO. With over 12 years of experience working with both small and larger companies, along with high-performing teams, Will leads the way in knowing there is a better way to do business. He feels that Ascend is a great company with a greater purpose, with a focus to transform the industry through better work practices and education. Now, Will got a little fancy with us, okay? And he provided a video on his company, Ascend. So let's take a look.
In the wireless space, we connect people. That's what we do. We connect. We physically connect them from one device to the other device. And we take pride in that. We want to deliver something of excellence because we know the importance of communication and the importance of connection. But the Lord also planned for us to connect as people. He wants us to connect on a deeper level. He made us to connect with each other. So we're also trying to help people to connect to that main source.
So, Will, do you want to take maybe 20 seconds and add anything?
Yeah, no, at Ascend, we were founded in 2013. We have always felt that there's a different way that we could do business. There's a different opportunity to have throughout this space. We are a firm believer in the blue-collar worker. Everything, the building we sit in, was built by blue-collar workers. So we really want to instill that dignity back into blue-collar workers. We want to provide a path. I think it's important, especially for my path in this industry, was to be able to have someone in front of me helping me, guide me down that way. So we believe that there is a better way to do it, and we believe that the people that do it, the people that are out there today that are making these things happen, we should shine light on them and help them advance in what their goal is in life.
100%, and we're actually going to touch on that in just a little bit here, so thank you for that. Next we have Chris Williams. He's from this company, you guys may have heard of it, Dish Wireless. So Chris is currently the market general manager for Dish in the Nashville market. He is a wireless industry professional with over 30 years of experience related to the engineering, deployment, integration, optimization, and operations of wireless networks. As a U.S. military veteran and Lean Six Sigma black belt, Chris is a proven leader who has been responsible for multiple successes with large-scale network deployments. So Chris, Dish has been doing some really great things. Why don't you talk about it a little bit.
Thanks for inviting a wireless carrier to the panel, especially Dish Wireless.
It was strategic.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, so as you know, we're in the process of building our nationwide network. We've met our FCC 20% deadline last June. We've launched in 120 cities, and we're head down, full steam ahead to meet the 70% this June, and I think we'll make that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Not everybody in our industry, no matter how long you've been in here, gets to be part of a new network, a new carrier deployment, so that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely, and this has been, I say this has been the most fun I've had in the wireless industry. Three decades, it's been the most fun.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks.
Not much sleep, but a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Thanks, Chris. And last but certainly not least, we have Sean Shahini. Sean is the CEO at Anorsa, and he founded Anorsa as an automation engine for telecom after building one of the most successful 5G deployments in the U.S. As a licensed structural engineer and manager, Sean witnessed inefficiencies in the industry, causing heavy delays and mistakes. This sparked his ambition for creating a tool to streamline telecom, save money and time, and improve quality of life for our drafters. Sean, give us a little more on Anorsa.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we are an automation platform for telecom. Our goal is to help our customers build, maintain, and upgrade their infrastructure. I started in construction. I'm a licensed structural engineer, like you mentioned, and I know how hard it is to actually build an engineering business, but also hit the deadlines, make sure everything is accurate. And our goal is to help our customers, mostly A&E firms, kind of build that revenue generator engine where they can scale really fast and bring artificial intelligence and automation to telecom, which I think we lack a lot of. So.
Excellent. Thanks, Sean. So great, we're excited to have all of you here, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. So today I thought it would be important for us to address some of the challenges that as business leaders, business owners, we're all facing in the current wireless space. Things like increased competition, industry layoffs, customer spend, shrinking vendor pools, and of course the ongoing supply chain issues. Okay, so for our first question, I'd like to start with Will. So Will, there's so much competition in the wireless space right now, whether it's site acquisition, A&E design, fiber, construction, and pricing from customers is being driven down to an all-time low right now. Some companies are taking to offshoring, though not all of our customers allow that. But how is Ascend achieving success amidst the growing competition?
Yeah, our goal is to get back to the basics. So for us, is to get back, as I was discussing earlier, to get back to the people that really drive this industry forward. And I know we have a carrier on here, and I don't say this disrespectfully, but as a business owner, my loyalty is to my employees. They're the ones that we've sat with, we've talked through, we've developed this path with them, and that's really where our loyalty lies. And in turn, when we invest in our employees, they're going to deliver a better product on time, hopefully on budget. And in turn, the carriers are going to demand that we grow. So for us, we all have to, as a business, just as the carriers, we have to make these decisions that push our business forward, whether that be cost savings, whether that be efficiencies. And for us, we're no different. So when we look at that, offshoring's never been a part of our plan. We sit and dive and invest deeply into individuals' lives that join Ascend. So for us, it's never been that. That doesn't fix the issue that we see in front of us. But also we were talking earlier with a group, and we know that the last 10 years, 15 years of what we've done in the wireless industry, the way that we look at the labor, the way we look at the blue-collar worker, it's not working. To be honest, it's just not working. So we have to go back to the basics, to the people that we have to start attracting people outside of the industry into this. So for Ascend, we've invested in a lot of different verticals to get young men, young women transitioning either out of the military or coming out of high school, wherever it may be, that don't know anything about this industry, to get them in and to help them create a path, because we all know this. You can make a good living with your hands. You can make a good living in this industry, and there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. But people have to feel like they belong in a place where they can thrive.
Agree, and it's smart. You're increasing your resource opportunities now by kind of going outside of the wireless bubble. It's nice. Anybody else have anything to add? Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on. So I want to switch over to Tony here. Okay, so Tony, I think that we can all agree that without our good people and strong teams, we're not going to be able to successfully deliver for our customers. Now, we've all experienced ups and downs in wireless with regards to hiring, okay? And in recent months, our industry has seen many layoffs at the carriers, tower companies, and vendors alike. But let's face it, opportunities in wireless aren't going anywhere, they're just growing. Yet when an increased profitability is needed, it seems that the easiest way to make impactful cost cuts is by cutting resources. So how is Diamond keeping morale up and hanging on to your top performers in the midst of these many industry layoffs?
Okay, well, we really have two areas. First is we have our internal resources, and then we have what we consider our partners. And those are, actually, they're companies like yours and those individuals that we do a lot of deployment. It's no secret most tower companies don't have a lot of internal climbing resources or deployment resources. We rely on our partners, and we still have a high demand for those type of individuals. As we talked earlier in the tower, you heard the earlier panel discussion. It was actually pretty fun with Paige and the rest of the team, especially when you have Tillman and Vertical Bridge going at. Very, very cordial, but yet I can see the tenseness going. I had fun with Bob on that one. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, all companies, whether it's an infrastructure company like Diamond, we have to rely on internal resources. So we try to keep our teams at the level that we can grow substantially. As a matter of fact, I had a dinner with several of our key members talking about how we need to bring in additional resources to start doing some of the builds. We're starting to see the macro builds coming more reasonable, not this, you know, $1 what you build it for. We can't do that. As you were in the carrier side too, you get it. So, but the more important thing is that balancing that workforce, and that workforce is driving the good partners that we can have, understanding what they're doing to keep their people. You had some great things to say about really investing in your teams, driving this blue collar responsibility. If you ever climbed a tower, which I did for years, it's not a fun job, right? So one thing is you can work on the hands on the ground, but you have to really make people wake up and want to run to work. And so internally, for a tower company, it's not an easy job, but those team members you continue to incent and show. And the real important thing on our side is to make sure we educate and say what our goals and our objectives for For our partners, it's really good to include them as far as what our build cycle is, what the pipeline is. You're going to lose contractors, partners along the way if you don't give them a good scope of what's coming. If you say, oh, it's going to come, this is what's going to happen, yeah, we don't have any work right now. But in June, we have 7 build-to-suits. In this market, 12. Keep that local as well. The workforce wants to be where they live, work, and play, and that's usually about a 200-mile radius. If you go beyond that and send these guys and gals nomadically, and they're in Michigan in the winter, they live in Michigan, but they're going to go to the south for 9-10 weeks and come home for 2 weeks. That doesn't work. So we have to try and find these geographic workforce individuals as well. You got to balance all that.
Sure, understood. Anybody else want to add to that? I think transparency is what you're saying is a big thing. Transparency with our partners, transparency with our employees so that, they understand what's to come, what our focus is. I think that has it plays a big part in maintaining our high performers.
Well, it's really easy to be in a role or be a leader of an organization and just sit behind not really the desk, it's kind of we're not behind the desk, we're in our home or wherever else we're at. But I think it's really important that the leaders in the organizations get out with the teams and understand what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to come to these things and meet with our teams and understand, what this carrier is saying, what that carrier is saying, and I take all these notes and,
Yeah.
some people get mad, but
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, this is what's happening, we really got to fix this.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's a mindset thing too. I mean, because the way that people thought about business and work in 2020 is totally different than the way they think about it today.
absolutely.
So for me, I have things in my life that are important to me. And for us, we have a tagline that says it's not business, it's personal, because we've realized that every single one of us in this room, it's hard to separate the two. So when you're talking about sending people to Minnesota or wherever for 6, 8, for however long, at home it's just getting destroyed. We know that, we see it. And I get a little frustrated when people say the wireless industry destroyed my marriage or whatever it may be in my family. And so we can't ignore those things and continue to think that we can think the same or operate the same and expect a different result, because the carriers, they have, they want predictability and consistency. For them to meet that, we have to take a responsibility as a business owner to make sure that we're giving our people their best foot forward, and that it's not, that we don't look at them as a transactional relationship, we look at it as a covenant relationship.
That's right. Yep, absolutely, that's important. All right, thank you, Tony, and thank you, Will. Okay, so, Sean, it's no secret that carrier CapEx has declined in 2023 when compared to 2022, and it's possible that this depressed CapEx spend will continue into 2024. So with less work from the carriers to hand out, how is Anorsa setting themselves apart from other competition?
So I'm going to answer your question in 3 categories. One is the customer experience, the other one is the business model, and I think the third one is the big picture.
Okay.
Our main competitors are typically offshore companies more than anything else. And from a software standpoint, when something becomes really repeatable and cookie cutter, I mean, automation is like the place for it. But when it comes to something like telecom, where every market, every carrier, and every tower owner has their own specific requirements, now you need a machine learning solution. So the machine learns over time from customer behavior. So for us, we've really obsessed over creating a zero training software. So when a customer, on a customer side, for example, if there's an A&E firm and they try to generate 10 drawings in 5 minutes, we wanted them to be able to do it really easy without any training, to get on our portal, use our product, and go on with their day and focus on things that are unique to every site, where they have to go figure things out, and really spend their time on engineering the infrastructure. So the customer experience is totally different, and you sending like a SharePoint link to a customer, to a vendor, and trying to wait 2 weeks to get your drawings back, or a week if it's an offshore vendor. And also we have a really robust customer success team. We are a really good software solution engineering team to support the customer as their partners. So they are customers advocate on our side. And when you create a model where it's easy to use and zero training, and there are no mistakes in our drawings or in our product, like we're an end-to-end automation platform, so we do a lot more than drawings. It helps the customers scale their revenue really fast. So if you can generate 100 drawings in 1 day, in 5 minutes, and for us it doesn't matter if it's 10 drawings or 100 or structural or bill of materials, everything, it helps the customer build a revenue generator engine so they can scale their revenue really fast. I think with what AI and automation is giving kind of the world right now, this is the time where you really have winners and losers in like big difference. Because if I ask you what's the difference between the offshore firms, one versus the other, they're at foundation like monolithically the same. I mean, there's not a huge difference. One person has a better drafter versus the other, but then the drafter moves somewhere else. But technology companies are a little different than that, where you have a solution that helps customers scale really fast. I think the third part is the big picture. Once you start using a program that learns from your behavior, you build a database, it cleans up all the data. I think everybody knows it's hard to not make mistakes when you have tons of tables and documents that you have to manually fill up. You build a powerful database that's unique to you and is tailored to your need as a business so you can scale fast. And our business model is also in a way that it handles the highs and lows without requiring a big commitment from customers, because this industry is a roller coaster. It helps them to transition into other markets really easy. So if a customer is doing small cells, they don't do fiber or utilities or even EV charging, for example, totally non-related, we are completely industry agnostic when it comes to engineering deployment. So it builds that holistic platform to help customers scale.
So customer experience, business model, and big picture. The theme of all of those that I got was that it makes us go faster, which is what we need to do according to our customers. We always need to be going faster, right?
Faster
so that
and
was
cheaper.
a very good answer. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, but I want to move over to Chris. We're going to kind of add on to that, okay, Chris? But this one is for you. So from the carrier perspective, and aside from pricing, what can vendors do to stay in the game?
Well, I've heard a couple of comments up here that kind of bleeds into this. You mentioned quality, like that's super important, right?
Yep.
Because quality ties into everything else, your time aspect, your cost aspect. So, since it is March Madness, I remember a quote from John Wooden, and he said, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when are you going to find time to do it the second time? So what you said is right. The quality is really super important, right? And then, Will, you made a comment about, around partnerships. That's really what we look for, right? Is a true partner, not just a vendor or a GC that's going to come do some task for us, but a true partner that wants to help us win and succeed. So far in our network build, the last 3 years, we've had over 500 vendors, not counting, subcontractors and stuff like that, but 500 vendors that have helped us build this network. And, how do you keep vendors going? Well, that all kind of goes with the work that's going on. Eventually, that'll settle down, and we won't need that many vendors. And so which vendors are still standing and which vendors do we rely on are the ones that are true partners and do quality work. I met a owner of a company walking in, and he met me at the front door. I thought he was security for a minute because he's a pretty big buff guy. And so we hugged, and I said, he helped us build our network in East Tennessee, Western North Carolina. I said, well, what are you doing now? He says, well, I'm down south. We finished that work up, and now they're keeping me on to do maintenance and special projects. And that's why he's being kept on, is because he knows how to form a true partnership, and he does really quality work, and he understands that the subs that he hires is really his company.
Yeah.
So, carriers don't really care if it was a sub that did that work on the tower. We just know we paid you to do that work, and so it's a reflection on that company.
That's right. That's right.
He ran a really, really tight ship and held everyone accountable, and that's what we look for.
Yeah, so good partnerships all around, from the carrier level down to the sub level is very important. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I'm sure we'd hear it if we didn't do that,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
You,
Yeah.
Dave, Jim, we're gonna.
Well, we want to be partners on both ways, right? So.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Chris, appreciate that. So this is the last question we have before we open it up to the floor. And I'm going to throw it out to all of you. Whoever answers first is the winner. So over the last few years, we've seen significant challenges with supply chain in our industry, and others. All industries are experiencing the heartburn of supply chain issues. And I know that companies are getting creative in tackling these challenges we're seeing with things like chip shortages, and you can't find meter banks, right? Everything is so far out. But how are your companies dealing with supply chain issues, but keeping the customer timelines intact as much as possible?
To me, it all boils down to communication. For us, at Ascend, every company likes backlog, but we love to be able to see that so that we can, and we have our sourcing guy here today, but we were purchasing things 8 months, 12 months in advance and stocking it and having all this stuff. And then, one of the carrier wants to go and change their hybrid from one to the other in the middle of it. And we're sitting on all these hybrids. But for us, it was just the communication of the point to say, okay, we know that we have to invest. We bought, and I know everybody in here was familiar with this, with all these ray caps. We bought a tremendous amount of ray caps up front, and it was kind of like the toilet paper issue during COVID. Now we have a shortage of ray caps, but it kept our team working, and it kept our partners. They knew they could rely on us, and it's not something they asked us to do, but we were blessed to have the finances to go ahead and purchase a lot of that and keep it on our shelf. So
Sure.
It's like last year, Dave Mayo sat in your same seat, actually. And the first thing he looked at everybody in the audience and said, you guys need to know what you have, right? So one of the things we did when we went back is to make sure we knew what we had, right? Did we have the power? Did we have the fiber? What was the vertical real estate that we had? What was the structural point? So as we took that message and went back, we also went back and considered the fact is, it's amazing how we have these sites that, all of us that went through engineering school or whatever else, we had this critical path method that we went through. You got to know how everything goes. It's just going back to the basics and saying, okay, before we build the site, before we send a contractor there, do we have everything? Now, we can't intercept the radios from you guys, you guys, the things that you provide, but we'll know if it's available, we can go before we get your team or any other team out there to the site. So again, it is a long answer to communication, but really understanding all those pieces that fit in to accomplish the completion of the project. And it's, just tell Dave, well, I'll tell him, we heard him.
Can't we solve 95% of the issues in our industry with better communication? We probably could.
This is the non-communication communication.
I'll add 2 C's to Will's communication.
Okay.
Coordination and cooperation. Really good point. Now I know where to go get ray caps. But, I think it really comes down to, you hit the nail on the head, is having your plan in place. What is it? Plan the work and work the plan. To really have a strong forecast to know when you're going to need these items and work back with your supplier. Just in time doesn't work well during the COVID supply chain issue. It just didn't work. So really having a strong forecast and getting material in and hoarding like Will on this stuff is really critical, I think, to deal with the supply chain struggles that we've had.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you all. So right now, we have some microphones, I think, on the 2 ends here. We'd like to open it up to the audience to see if you have any questions for any of our panelists, or if you'd like to add any commentary to the topics that we've already discussed.
And we've told the bar not to open until we filled it a few questions.
That's right. We have to fill the whole 40 minutes. So just raise your hand and we can bring the mics to you if you have any questions. I'm having a hard time seeing though.
We're serious about that.
Oh, yes, we have one right back here.
Somebody's thirsty.
Thank you, guys. John Caselli from Wesco. What do you guys see as, I guess, maybe threat or business opportunity for the advance of private networks within each of your organizations?
Well, I can touch it. Now, question, you're talking indoor, commercial, industrial, or all? I think you work in the space and we work in the space too. And of course, the one company that has the total solution, zero trust network, as you say, I can go and quote you guys, and really driving the customer-based solution. I think the threat is going to be the understanding of, you look at some of these enterprises, when are we going to go back to work? I mean, these facilities, it's kind of a timing issue. It's not a need, because as you look at 5G, as we talked about the evolution, even 4G growing further, it's getting people back in these facilities where the demands are there. As an example, where I live, they're building a brand new battery plant. And I've just been put on the Economic Development Committee for this small town, and they've asked me to go back and say, okay, we want this to be the new modernized 5G plant. Well, Panasonic has no clue what that looks like. So I said, well, you need to talk to a couple carriers out there that may have this end-to-end network from a private perspective, but then the expectation that they don't have to pay anything for it. And I will tell you right now that I don't see, unless it's a big customer, I don't see the big 4 carriers really funneling a lot of money unless you get 2,000 of those customers in that building, right?
And as a carrier, I see it as a huge opportunity, especially the way that Dish's architecture is structured with being cloud native and Open RAN. I think it's really easy for us to deploy in that space. So I see a huge opportunity, huge upside.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? No? Going once? Oh, yes, right here.
Thank you. Test 1, can you hear me?
We got you.
My question is quite simple. You have this great summit that's going on over these next 3 days. What are you all doing together besides having the panels to get together to really unify and work together to improve the industry together? And what are the steps that you're taking to make those relationships, and no offense to the carriers, but to organize together to stand up and do what's right for our industry and to see it grow and thrive?
You're going to pull Chris.
Yeah, I mean,
Where's one of the summit leads?
well, for me, I mean, as you can tell, I'm a very culture-driven, purpose-driven. When we started the company, I was the tower top hand, the civil foreman, the CM, the PM, the closeout coordinator, all that at once. So you get to see all that stuff, and you see what it takes to get to the point where you can actually turn a site in to be paid. Because our business, we're in the business selling closeout packages. That's what we do. We sell closeout packages. So for us, is how do we get our individuals to thrive in this way of, like you're saying, the prices are dropping. We're in an economy right now that's uncertain. We don't know exactly what the carriers are going to do, how long they're going to delay to keep going. But we still have a commitment to our people to provide them a place where they have a growth plan. And for us, we want to sit around the table and say, okay, I wouldn't say our industry's in triage, but I would say there's a lot of things that we allow to sit in the corner and not talk about. And I think we have to be a little more open to talk about those things, because there are people that love this industry. We have people at Ascend that they want to be nothing more than a top hand or a foreman. That's just what they love to do. But we need those people.
Yes.
But we also need to give them dignity back into that. I always talk about, there's the white collar class and there's blue collar class, and we have one education system. We have to get back to really investing in these trades and investing in people. And I don't know how many people are in the education system, but you look at our education system and we're still teaching people the same way we've done the last 60 years, where they sit down in front of a teacher, you give them a book and you give them a test at the end and you expect them to be successful. That's not the way I learned. That's not the way a lot of people learn. So getting back into those and figuring, okay, where is companies that are headed this direction from a resource and what the carrier needs, because the carriers need resources, but they're not in the resource business. I think they've figured that out pretty well, that they don't need to be in the resource business. So how do we have the same goal. I mean, we have to connect the carrier with the end user. That's what we get to do. That's our privilege. But how do we get in the room with the right people that we can make decisions to push this forward? Because probably 80% of people in this room just stumbled into this industry.
Yeah.
I stumbled into this industry.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of people growing up saying, you know what, I want to be a tower climber. I want to be in this industry. So I think for all of us, we got to raise the standard for people to get into this industry so that there is dignity in it. It's not, hey, I don't have a driver's license, I have no future, so I'm going to go into the tower industry. So for me as a business owner, I mean, we're not a huge company, but we're trying to make a difference in our space, but we're trying to bring people along with us to say, you know what, we all have a responsibility from carrier side, from the NATE side, from the business owner side. We all have a responsibility to really, I mean, at some point, someone else is going to own us in and be the CEO. So when I have it now, it's up to me to leave it better than I found it. So how do we do that as a group to push forward to really make change? Because at the end of the day, the P&L is the P&L. And you can tweak it the way you want to see it sometimes. But for us, it's what are we really out to do in this industry? And to me, and whenever the Lord calls me home, I want to leave something that's bigger than me. So.
And for us, you know, that's a good question. What are we all doing? You heard Patrick earlier talk about WIA. We serve on the board of WIA, but there's a lot of things that he put up there that really aren't good for the tower industry, right? The idea of these pole attachments for no dollars and, you know, right-of-way is wide open. Those aren't, don't tell on me. But I mean, honestly, my CEO sits on the board, so I get it. But you know, there's some things we have to help steer, right? Because policy has different ways. If you listen to, so we serve a lot of utilities, right? The utilities are pretty unhappy with our industry lobby group, which is WIA, and that's because the 6 gigahertz microwave is being knocked out of the wing. Well, what you may or may not know is the 6 gigahertz microwave serves the SCADA networks for the utility company. So they have to go back and revamp their whole microwave network across the country. I was at a UTC conference last week. It was not pretty when the discussion came up. So our job, what we're doing is we're trying to figure out, WI has done a lot of great things. TIRAP, I sat when we introduced that thing over 10 years ago in Washington, D.C., when the now FCC chairman was just basically talked about how great this is going to be as she was a commissioner. So we have to be active in all these different agencies. The workforce, TIRAP is a workforce. We, Earl Scott, Kelly Dunn, and myself sat at a bar in Baltimore on a napkin. This is another napkin story. You'll hear many of them about. But we created Wireless for Warriors. You all may know that. The problem was Kelly Dunn, the real creator of that program, was saying, look, I'm a Navy vet. I've got all this type of stuff. We have all these military guys and gals that come out. They have military specification 6425. What is it? What is the Cisco 6850 router certification? But the problem is when you would come out of the military, nobody knew what the heck what that was in the civil service wave. So that's what you started building. So you bring that workforce. Military is a great workforce group. So we do try. I think we all try. You guys are active at the DISH side. Everybody's active in these types of things. We're trying to go ahead and bring and collaborate that. These kind of events like this are great ideas. I mean, I talked to a group on fiber deployment, talked to a group on how we need to improve it. You know, this type of workforce resource. So WIA, NTIA, these types of organizations, we all have to be active. And we do have to speak up because the person, as sad as it is, it's not really the squeaky wheel, but it's just, hey, I like your policy, but you know what? This is not going to be great for us if you go ahead and say any vertical structure, the state can just say you have to locate. Because, by the way, there are countries that say if you're going to put up a wireless out, you can go wherever you want. Go to Japan. See their rules. We don't want that here because that's going to hurt our industry.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough from.
Well, thank
you. Like that, don't you?
That was a really great discussion, but unfortunately, we are out of time. So I want to give a big thank you to all of our panelists for the meaningful discussion today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I think Sturk wants to get a picture.
Oh, okay.
Pleasure meeting you.